Hey guys, welcome back to the Falco. Just wanted to jump on and do a quick-ish video on last night's game against RZ in the Europa League. Tottenham Hotspur are through, 3-1 winners on the night, which therefore takes us through on aggregate. And you know, there's a few bits and pieces without kind of going through minute by minute and goal by goal. There's a few kind of general themes that are worth taking note of, I think. The first thing to say is that if we were looking for signs and signals that Ange can make this work when he has his strongest kind of 14 or 15 players available, I think last night was a very good example of that. We do obviously have to recognise that we were at home, and in the away leg we were absolutely awful. And we do have to recognise we had the crowd behind us, and the fans definitely deserve a lot of credit because the atmosphere at the game last night was very good. Even when we got ourselves in a sticky situation and we conceded the goal and it had gone to 2-2 on aggregate, I felt like the fans maintained the singing, they stayed behind us, and you know that's really, really important. It obviously works massively in our favour, and we have to take that into account because we're going to be playing our second legs, I believe, away from home from now on. So we do need to remember that. But we had a fairly strong lineup and bench. So to the point where, you know, we've even not got room for some players. We've still got injuries, but still not got players being able to make the squad, the matchday squad. And we've certainly no longer got that situation of sitting there with, you know, 16, 17, 18-year-old academy products making up the number or not filling our quota. So that is positive, and Tottenham were able to bring that energy across the 90 plus minutes. We really were. It wasn't the most fluid of performances, but we really were aggressive. We were committed. We were, you know, able to play front foot a lot more than we've seen recently. There were glimpses of it in the second half against Bournemouth, but across this game, there were multiple instances that you could point to and you could say that is the press. That's the aggressive nature of what Ange is trying to achieve. And in this game, it kind of directly led to goals. So it's quite easy to pick it out, but you could have picked it out from other situations that didn't lead to goals, but they led to chances, or they just led to us being able to either regain possession or maintain possession. So again, that counter press, the gegenpress, at times going forward, like I said, not the most fluid, but if you give the ball away and then you can recover the ball very, very quickly, you make it very difficult for the opposition. And we could see RZ at times having to, you know, go against their own principles because they are a very good side and they were just kicking the ball long, which then means it's coming straight back at them. So that's what we really wanted to achieve. You know, from the first goal, really, really aggressive run by Son. He covered a huge amount of ground, and then the rest of the team came with him. And it should be noted that, you know, up until then, it was kind of 25 minutes into the game. Up until then, it was a good performance, but it wasn't like we created loads of chances and we were looking really threatening. So to still be committed to it and to be running like that and to be pressing like that is exactly what the manager would have wanted. And Son does brilliantly. He goes, you know, he covers a huge amount of distance from, I think he's probably in his own half when he starts his run. They get the playing out from the back wrong. It turns the defender and he finds himself in a situation where he's going to turn around, he's going to knock it up the field, and he finds Son right in his face at that moment. And that's exactly what you want. And all the other players moved up in unison. The front players all moved up with Solanke and Odebear and Sarr in the middle, and then James Maddison backing that up. So everybody moved up, and that is exactly what the manager wants. We get the break of it, some really nice, couple of quick touches from Dom Solanke, and then lays it on a plate, and Odebear doing exactly what we've seen so much from Brennan Johnson and showing that he can play on the right, and he's taken on that instruction. He's getting in those areas and he scores a really nice goal, really emphatic finish, giving the goalkeeper no chance. So that's great to see. That energy, that press, that's exactly what the manager wants. And now if we can layer on top of that a bit of a bit more rhythm and a bit more tempo of players playing together and getting their kind of sharpness, we could add a bit more of being better at playing with the ball as well as our really aggressive pressing style. So that was great to see. The second goal was exactly the same. Nice, aggressive front foot defending from a deeper area with Porro nicking the ball off the RZ player, and then good forward progressive passes, moving the ball forward at pace, nice and confident. And yeah, it was lovely to see in terms of being able to play up to Son, ball back to Maddison. Lovely first touch, and that first touch is absolutely key in terms of him presenting the ball in a position where he can take it immediately with his next touch, and he sweeps it into the net. Probably unsighted goalkeeper, but a really nice goal, really positive. And the key to the goal, or one of the keys to that goal, was Pape Sarr's run. So Pape Sarr goes on an absolute tear. He goes 50, 60, 70 yards, and it turns out just to be a decoy run at the end, but it shouldn't be underestimated that he pins the centre halves back. He also gets himself into a position where if Son had gone on the outside, or if there had been an overlap and the ball had been cut across, he would have been the only player in a position to get that ball. But him driving forward stretched the RZ team, and it allowed us to do what we needed to do, kind of playing in front of them and Maddison to step off into space. That's hugely important, and again, just shows a little bit more of what the manager needs. He needs his players to have that energy to make that lung-busting run to affect that particular phase of play. So that was great to see. We concede a bit of a disappointing goal. I think by that point, Mickey van der Ven had come off the pitch, replaced by Archie Gray. I feel like Archie Gray had maybe taken up too much of an advanced position, potentially screening a pass into midfield, and it left a really big channel for them to play a ball down the right-hand side into. But at that point, kind of no harm, no foul. Really good work from Odobert. He got in as they moved the ball across the pitch and just pinches it off the RZ player. And we're really unfortunate. He lays it to Berrival, and you could argue maybe it was a bit too casual from Berrival there. He's trying to just clip it to Romero so Romero can play out, whereas potentially Berrival could have taken more charge of that situation. It's a bit congested with Odobert running across him. Just knock that ball out to Jed Spence, or make another decision, play to Vicario potentially as a slightly different line, and we wouldn't have had the same problem. The ball kind of bobbles to the RZ player who buries it. Really nice finish, and not much that can be done in that situation. So the players will learn from that, but what I really liked about it was Odobert running so far and across the pitch, and in another situation he would have snuffed out that opportunity. So that was really good to see, and like having that player back who hasn't played for months, and him getting his fitness and his sharpness was really good. So I choose to look at that in a positive light. Obviously at that point we now find ourselves 2-2 on aggregate. So, we as Tottenham fans, we can be nervous at that point. That's absolutely what we should be, given what we traditionally served up. But as I said, I thought the fans were really good, stayed with the team, and the team mentality was really good. They didn't look flustered. It didn't feel like we were going to disintegrate. It just felt like we were going to go on again. Maybe that's easy to say with hindsight, but the team showed exactly what they were made of in terms of scoring that third goal. An absolutely wonderful back to front goal, classic, example of why playing out from the back is so effective when you do it well and when it works. Lots of bravery from the Tottenham players, which is what I've been calling for in terms of certain players taking charge. We played the ball all the way across the back line into Jed Spence. He bounces it into midfield. Maddison has drawn two players and he rolls them. Absolutely wonderful kind of awareness and technique to roll them, and then he's out, and then he's running into the heart of the RZ midfield. And again, positive, progressive forward passes. So moving the ball forward and creating a situation where the RZ players have to be running defensive lines. They can't set themselves. They can't make good decisions. because we're continuing to progress the ball up the pitch, and so they're scrambling. And then a classic kind of rotation on the the kind of the left hand side of the penalty area with Son and Spence. So the ball's progressed to Son. He threatens the inside and then cuts a lovely little ball to the overlapping Spence, who fires the ball across the 6-yard line. Good touch. Solanke does all he can, gets a surface on it and continues it on his way. And Odobert, listening to his coaches, getting in there at that back post. We've seen it so much from Brennan Johnson. It's great to see that Odobert, who's going to play off both sides, has been listening, and he's got in there and done it again. He's got himself in a good position and he scores a very easy tap-in. It was a great team goal. It's why playing out from the back can be so effective when you do it right, and when you've got that right mentality. You've got the bravery to try and do it, and then you've got the technique to actually execute. So fantastic to see. The goal goes in, and Tottenham are back in front in the tie, and that effectively put us through. It was the winning goal, but we still gave up another big chance towards the end of the game, which, again, these little things, they need to be ironed out. They need to be sorted. We saw both sides of Romero. He deserves a huge amount of credit for how good he is on the ball. He genuinely, he's one of the best centre-halves I've seen at the moment in terms of playing through the lines. His passing range and the different types of pass that he can use with quality, and better quality will come as he gets his sharpness back. If we kind of take out the first 10 minutes of rustiness against Bournemouth, he is, he's not connecting with every pass, but the amount of times you can see him play a pass that nobody else would consider, he's breaking lines, he's playing balls into midfield where you think to yourself, there's not a gap for that pass, but he is, and he's doing it, and our midfielders are expecting it, and they're receiving it and holding on to possession, or he's playing through the lines into Solanke, who's then trying to link up the play. This is what we've been missing in terms of him playing out from the back. But on the flip side of it, we saw his rash side as well. There were plenty of occasions in this game where he was a bit too rash, a bit too committed. And I'd like to see him quiet that side down while continuing to find his rhythm with his passing game. And just, the basics of defending. He's a great defender. He's brave, he's strong. He's willing to put his body on the line. And, he's great in the air. He's a great tackler. I want to see that side of it without him kind of throwing himself around. And there was a chance that RZ had at the end where I feel like he goes to ground a bit too easy, trying to block and cut out the ball on the right-hand side, which is played in, I think, to Troy Parrott, and Troy Parrott has a good shot. Really well saved by Vicario, and then credit both Vicario for the save and for getting up, because I feel like he was behind it, but then Biss, who at this stage, and he's come in for a huge amount of criticism, he also showed that commitment and that desire and that want to get in there, because the RZ player, it falls to an RZ player. It's a difficult finish. It's on the volley with his left foot. He hits it down into the ground, but Biss gets in there and makes the clearance, whether or not his goalkeeper would have made the save anyway. And that's exactly what we want to see. We're making changes, we're bringing players on, and they're having a positive effect on the game. So glimmers of hope, even though we probably shouldn't have let ourselves get into that situation. You take the positives out of what you can for the players making amends. He deserves a huge amount of credit. It was great to see Mickey van der Ven back. Little moment of worry where we saw him reaching down and holding his leg. But you saw also his importance to the system when Poku made that break through. He was even able to outstrip Jed Spence, but you can't run past Mickey van der Ven. So he's got the pace to get himself back in, and he's got that physicality to just bump the player. And in this case, the player's much more lightweight. He hits the floor, but that would make it difficult for any striker or any wide forward being hit by a player the size of Mickey van der Ven to kind of stay and have a good touch and do something with it. So we saw the value of him as well. So hopefully we get our two centre-halves firing, we get them back to fitness, we don't lose them to any more injuries, because they make such a difference to the team and to the system. And across those two across the game as well, better at stepping out and timing the stepping out to get into the areas to help the midfield to snuff out potential attacks. So that was really good to see. It was a good performance without being, incredible. But again, it felt like a step in the right direction. It felt like a response to last week's, really abject performance and kind of the commitment side of it. And it shouldn't be underestimated that, with games and minutes and time on the pitch, these things do tend to improve. So we can only cross our fingers about keeping our players fit. And all we're looking for between now and the end of the season is consistency, seeing these performances and building on the positive stuff, snuffing out a few of the negative bits, and throwing all our eggs in the cup basket to try and get to that final in Bilbao and hopefully bring home a piece of silverware. So I'll leave it there. We got the job done, and that's what was needed, and we move on to the next one. So we've got Fulham on the weekend. Let's hope for a performance. Anyway, have a great end to your week, everyone, and come on, Tottenham.